This is Emily Abernathy, and this is my self-portrait. Introduction to Sociological Imagination. It is important to understand that each element of the sociological composition is interrelated and has begun even before an individual's birth. I will begin the presentation with a clear environmental entry at birth and include many agents of socialization, as this is imperative to the sociological outcome of the individual. I will explain my roles and status, including religious preference, education, gender, and race. These will introduce my cultural ideas and other immaterial culture that was imprinted at this time by being a part of different groups and their impact on my ideas. These are still a part of my cultural expectations now, and the ideas will be passed forward to later generations. For example, my children and grandchildren. I will use these ideas to explain my own social control from childhood up to adult years and how I plan to pass the ideas and expectations to my children. These will shape a later societal generation, which are values that I hold in high regard, such as social conformity, deviance, image, perception, and success. I will close with an overview of social mobility and how the theories have shaped my own sociological outcome, beginning with ancestral history and intergenerational mobility throughout my life, and the effects on my children and a latter generation, an example, my grandchildren. These will include how socioeconomic factors have influenced my decisions and ultimately the decision to go back to school for the betterment of my quality of life and the future of my children. Agents of socialization. The biggest agents of socialization in my life have been my family, friends, and my church. The location and environment that I was introduced had a major impact on developing my sociological self. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but was raised in southern Indiana my whole life. Being born and raised in the Midwest influenced my economic and cultural exposure. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother's grandparents arrived in America on a large passenger ship from Denmark. They spoke only Danish and were the Christensens. They settled here in Jeffersonville amongst a larger community of German and Danish-speaking Americans. Contributing as some of the original founders of my church, my culture is deeply rooted in religion. My values come from the hardworking immigrant ancestors before me in search of the American dream. Family is at the center of our culture and influences my norms. Religion. The photo in the middle is my church, in which 7 generations married, confirmed, and baptized. Because of this family history, I was already a part of a group that was a large part of our society. This church was originally organized by German and Danish-speaking immigrants, including 17 couples and 5 single men, in which they would meet at each other's homes and agree to share the expense of a pastor, forming the first German Protestant church in the area. My family. My family has been the most important part of my life and the biggest influence shaping me into the person that I am. I was very fortunate to live with my parents, grandparents, and aunt and uncle when I was born. I got a lot of time and attention to encourage development of a strong sense of self. I was adored by each of my family members as a baby and small child. This strong foundation of love and support allowed me to thrive. I loved to dress up and often pretended to be my grandmother wearing her high heel shoes. My family allowed me to imitate and act out these roles to practice being a young lady someday. My parents and siblings. I was born in 1987 and lived at my grandparents' house for a few years until about 3 years old. My parents got their own place, but I was the only child until I turned 6, and then I became a big sister when my brother was born. This role was especially important to me, and I enjoyed acting the part. I had 2 more sisters and worked hard at being a good big sister. My role as the oldest was important, and it was the norm in my home to set a good example for my younger brother and sisters. It was this role that helped me to find my love for nursing and healthcare. I received my first stethoscope from my mother's OBGYN and told if I worked hard and got good grades, I could be a doctor someday. I would continue on my nurturing nature to enter the healthcare field as an adult. Grandparents. My grandparents had a huge part in shaping me into the person I am today. From each of them, I received unconditional love and support to find my place in the world. My strong morals and values, passed from generation to generation, was a huge part of my identity. The biggest agent in my life from the time I was born was my maternal grandmother, Karen, who shaped me with her values and beliefs of Jesus and being a good person. She accepted me and everyone else as we are and never judged another. These norms I learned from her among other non-material culture. Her passing in September 2018 left a large hole in my heart, but it's these ideas she taught me that I will remember and pass on to my children.
The farmer goes green, green, green. You're rotten.
My grandmother shaped me into the mother I am today, and I would not be a mom, college student, healthcare worker, or follower of Christ without the amazing role model I had. School, peer groups, and education. Education and peers. I was very excited to start school and learned very fast. Once I entered the first grade, it was obvious that I excelled academically. I loved to read and would read anything that I could. It was my love for reading that opened up a whole new world of possibilities for me. Friends were important to me, and spending time relating to my peers encouraged me to find out who I was and what groups I fit into. I tried out for sports, sang in choir, acted in school plays, which were influenced by my friends. This only expanded my social network, and I was able to relate to many groups of peers this way. I always maintained the academically exceptional label and was one of the smart kids. I was invited to join National Junior Honor Society in middle school and continued to maintain a status of academic excellence through high school. This experience emphasized my desire to pursue my education, constantly reaching higher goals of excellence, and to attend college. Mass media. Growing up in the 90s was a huge factor in shaping me into the person I am. I played outside as a child and watched Disney movies. I had material culture surrounding my childhood, and these were vehicles of self-expression and roles that I could explore, like Ariel in The Little Mermaid. Movies, music, books, and toys were a very important part of the development of myself. As children, we see different roles and use these as guides to model ourselves after. We imitate characters and pull from the desirable traits. I have developed my love for mass media as a child and continue to utilize this agent even as an adult, in which social media is now included in this influence. Social roles, status, social control, and social mobility. Mass media and family culture had a big impact on the roles that I identified with early in childhood. I immediately loved the nurturing motherly roles and wanted to be a mother myself when I grew up. I also knew at a young age that I would work in healthcare and dreamed of becoming a doctor. Today, I am in fact a mother of 3 and a college student. Being ascribed the role of a woman has made me tougher and more determined because of the barrier of inequality. I attribute this strength to this role in the ideas of social control that were passed down from generations to myself, and I will prepare and pass on the information and expectations to my own children in terms of acceptable behavior, discrimination, Jesus, and Christianity. My values taught me that no matter where you start, you can always finish better if you work hard enough. These values are the takeaway that I have received from my roles as a mother, wife, woman, Christian, college student, philosopher, entrepreneur, philanthropist, activist, daughter, granddaughter, sister, and many other groups or associations that I have had the opportunity to learn from. Social mobility is very important to me and my family. This is is what drives me to push harder to reach higher goals and success. My boys, the future. Grayson, Keaton, and Leland. Conclusion. From before birth, I had a predetermined sociological foundation. The cultural norms, expectations, values, and beliefs that I obtained from family, church, peers, and school have all shaped me into me. Some elements are ascribed at birth, and some can be achieved. In the U.S., we have the opportunity to become whoever we want to be with hard work and merits. This is a society unlike many others in the world, and it offers even the lowest class people the opportunity to become wealthy and successful. Although others strive for wealth or prestige, in my social portrait, I strive to be remembered as a loving mother. Becoming a mother was the greatest accomplishment in my life. As a mother, I now have the most important role in the world, and it is a huge responsibility. Caring for and teaching my children each of the norms, values, beliefs, and cultural history that has shaped me. Passing on my knowledge and traditions is what most parents strive for. I am now an agent of socialization for my children and will be there for my grandchildren when the time comes to continue passing each of these behaviors and ideas that shape the next generation. It is a huge honor that many take lightly. I'd like to leave a final thought. It is this responsibility that each of us have to the youth of our society to bring up honorable, courageous, and thought-provoking young people. Be the change.